but it's definitely not good. Alright, let's try. I think the biggest texture that I want to throw on one of these is like 1024. So let's see what 1024 does to us. We're running at like 42, 43 FPS here. Let's Google this show FPS shipping build. Let's see if there's a way I can actually set it up so we can see that FPS. Open level blueprint, enter stat into command field, attach stat, run on device. I don't think that's going to work in a shipping build though. Alright, so supposedly I can just call the exec stat FPS command using a binary version of 4.6. They had some issues, but supposedly I should just be able to pass something in there. So let's see if that 1024 texture does anything for our shipping build. Yeah, I don't feel any sort of slowdown going on here. And that's writing every pixel of that thing every frame. Alright, well there is one thing that I want to test out. I want to see if the rendering specific regions actually does anything for this. Hello, Likon. How are you doing today? So what I want to see is if we can get away with rendering only to a specific part of the texture for our texture region. So like if we, instead of, let's just hack something in here real quick. You're getting frustrated at EU4. How about me? Well, if you talked to me 30 minutes ago, I'd agree with you. But right now, I'm still frustrated. Yeah, I can commiserate. I've been messing around. I just had like 2 hours where I was having problems with something in a shipping build, and I figured out that it was because I wasn't calling set texture. I was calling in the constructor's script as opposed to, you know, like the begin play event. So I feel your pain. Which parts of Unreal 4 are frustrating you at the moment? Let's see. I want to set the width and height of this thing to like, you know, 1024. Let's just set this to like 128 by 128. And let's see if it fills it up with trash. And I want to see if basically this texture region stuff allows us to only write to specific places, because if we can, then what we can do is do the whole like dirty rect sort of thing and only render specific parts. Of course, that's not going to help us if we have, you know, two different rectangles that are too big apart or something, but we could at least put a big grid or some crap on here and do all that. Yeah, that's what the docs were saying, Mimify, or Mimafi, or Mimaf, or whatever it is. I'll just throw that in there. I think I've got a command line execution thing already built in there. I might just be able to run it on the command line already. I have to go look at that. Where is my game manager thing? Ah, it's just the config manager. Yeah. You can't make your buttons deal damage to the enemy AI from the user interface you implemented for battle. So you're making like some sort of... Your buttons are trying to deal damage to the enemy AI from user interface. Well, are you working in blueprints? Yeah, I just have these get bool args. It's not running commandlet for my HUD. Yeah, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to... I'm just going to make a new command line thing for myself, which does this. Alright, so setup for the... Where would I want to put this sort of trash? We have the data manager, we have the audio manager, input manager, physics manager. I guess in the game manager? Well, that's just our UI. Where is our UI set up from? Probably our window. We're calling on start. Alright, so do we have on start here? Yeah, okay, our game manager's here. It's probably a good place to do this sort of stuff. Let me see if my command line utils actually have. Yeah, it's been a while since I looked at all this stuff. So where are my command line utils? Do I not have defaults? I guess I don't have defaults. Well, that's okay. It should probably default to false anyway. Alright, so if FPS is there, we want to exec a thing. So does the command line utils actually have an exec on it that I've already made? How many games? Have you made any games besides the one you're currently working on? Yeah, look, I've been in the game industry for 8 years. I worked on Dragon Age Legends, some of Mass Effect 3 server stuff, um, some unreleased Mass Effect game stuff as well. Mainly the social stuff. Like Dragon Age Legends was a Facebook game, kind of based off of Dragon Age Journeys and all that. And then worked on Dawngate, which was a MOBA for EA. It died halfway through its public alpha. And I worked at Amazon for several years after that, working on games that have all been canceled, pretty much, because Amazon likes to cancel games. And now I'm working on my basement on my own Unreal 4 game with Adam. who is in Australia. So let me see. All right, let's see. Exec command Unreal C++ on console command via C++. Yeah, let's see where that is. I've probably already done it. It's probably somewhere. So I think it's inside. Do we have an exec or something else like that? Where in the hell was this? It was like get world. Dashkin game instance. Yeah, the game instance. Where the hell is the game instance? Where did I put you? Here we are. Alright, it's right here. This is where we want all this stuff to happen. So we've got the game instance, and we've also got the game mode. Game mode calls a whole bunch of setup stuff. Alright, cool. So I think we want to go to, we want to call this on start. I guess, yeah, the game manager is probably the right place to do this. So let's just go ahead and do it. It's been a while since I messed around with any of the C++ stuff here. Alright, let's just do FPS. And we'll just do the stat FPS, and all we have to do is this. This is the game mode. Yeah, this will work. So let's go ahead and make a run startup commands function. And I'll throw this stuff in here. And that way, if I ever have another startup command line thing that I want to add that's kind of contextless. Did I already have a debug utils? No, I think that was when I was working in Unity. I made a debug utils thing. Thank you for locking up Visual Studio. That's quite helpful, you know. Oh, come on, Visual Studio. Why you gotta crash on me? Oh, yeah. Thanks for your input, Evertech. But, I'm trying to open it, you know, when there is no editor, when there is no console. You know, like when it's a shipping build, right? So I was mainly just being like, where should I put this, and all that stuff. So thank you for your feedback, but I think I got that one solved. Right. Opening or showing FPS. Cool. So I should be able to do that right there. And I don't want to just enable the console there. Also, look on what made me go indie. Well, I've always kind of wanted to make my own indie games since college and everything like that, right? Like working for the man at Electronic Arts and the man at Amazon and the man at every other place I've ever been. You get to, you know, most game projects fail, and for a lot of different reasons. Like maybe money runs out, maybe your team sucks, maybe your design sucks, maybe your game sucks, maybe just you guys don't know what the hell you're doing. Basically, for a game to succeed, it has to be the perfect storm of people need to know what they're doing, you need to have enough money, you need to have enough time. Just all sorts of stuff needs to go right. And when you're in a larger team, you can't really control that very well. So, you know, you can work your butt off and, you know, through no fault of your own, something else goes wrong or whatever, right? And it could be pretty frustrating to have what you've worked on so hard just kind of fall to nothing. And why is my computer running like 100% CPU? I got the wrong stuff. Oh yeah, this is wrong. So it'd be pretty frustrating to, you know, work on all this stuff and have it not work. So going indie was like, well, I've got enough money, I can control that, and I want to work on my own stuff and actually ship a few games. A lot of my skill set is as a server engineer, so that means pretty much every game I ever worked on no longer is playable because, you know, the servers probably aren't running anymore, or at least there's kind of a, you know, in 10 years they won't be playable, which kind of sucks. Like, you know, we're not in the era of making games that you can actually play in another 20 years because, you know, the servers are going to be off. Even things like, you know, like you can still play classic StarCraft and Diablo 2 and stuff like that, but I mean, if Blizzard wasn't incredibly successful and continued to be incredibly successful, those games would no longer be playable. You know, you could maybe play the single player version of it. Surely not the classic online modes. Deliverance made you lazy? Nah, I'm also kind of testing some of this stuff that I wrote a very long time ago. I've got like this git bool arg and all this other garbage um, that I've got going on here. And I kind of want to see when the command line actually starts to work. Get bool arg fps, arg map is empty, which is as it should be. So we're going to return the false. Alright, let's change this to true. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's just not available in blueprints. That's available in C++. So I don't know. If I'm gonna be doing some startup commands, I kind of need a good place to put it. Yeah, and see the stat FPS didn't even get to execute there. So this actually needs to this needs to run on level load. So let's see, where is that? You have to wait until there's actually a command. So let's see when the init gets called for the game instance. Not many, not anymore. I think almost every day I have to make some sort of shim in there. It's like, I want to copy a texture into another texture. I can't do that. So once you get your game set up, it's kind of like that's when you don't have to worry too much, and blueprints pretty much do your jobs. So the init isn't even getting called until we do this. So I should put stuff in the game instance, in the game mode, not the game manager. And I don't have any other places where I'm actually calling exec from my code, so I like to have at least one example of it in case I have to reference it later. Completely focusing on your 15,000 shaders. Oh man. Well, that's gonna take at least a couple minutes. I'm guessing you grabbed like the latest version of something and are building it on there. Or you clicked on the deferred landscape, the deferred forward shading button or whatever. Landscape, God, yeah, shit. And of course I should actually add this to our game mode H. Yes, that will happen. One of those where you're just like, well, I gotta go modify engine.h, I guess, or like you'll notice here on my right-click menu, I don't know if everybody can see that, but there should be the clean and rebuild options right here in the right-click. Yeah, there's a reason I took those out. You accidentally click the fucking rebuild button and you're like, yep, well, I guess I'm done for today. I'm gonna head out and go do something because it's gonna be like 40 minutes until this thing is finished building. Because it's not like me running out of my basement. I've got, I don't have like $50,000 to buy like 5 machines and Incredibuild and run it. So we will see. Yeah, and I gotta wait for this to actually finish the broken build before I can kick off the real build, because if I hit that cancel button, then I'll probably have to rebuild the entire frickin' thing. And I've made that mistake way too many times. And I must be distracted. Alright, well, I finished adding my run startup command crap and compiling a whole bunch of random stuff because I changed headers that I pretty much include from everywhere. And unnecessarily added this as a command line argument just because I felt like it. Alright, so stat FPS just doesn't frickin' work called from that location either. But that's inside the initialize for the game instance. God, alright, that is so fucking dumb. It's like you actually have to wait for like the tick or something else to and run your startup commands. That's pretty dumb. Where's this getting called from? This is called from inside of init. This isn't called inside of the initialize for play and editor. So I guess it's run way too early on in the life cycle of this thing. I don't even have a good place for this, do I? See where the tick is called from, I could probably throw it in there. Yeah, it's always interesting to mess around with where the life cycle stuff happens with all this. This is inside of an actor tick function. Game mode, tick. Alright, well, fine. Fine. Thank you for following my MFA. I guess you're not finding it as horribly uninteresting as it could be. But that will change. It will get even more boring. I assure you of that. Yeah, if anybody had caught that, I added my own tick loop inside of this thing for the pre-update. Basically, an update loop, an update event that gets called before any other updates, because I needed a little bit of control. I think it had to do with like input buffering or something. I forget exactly what it was. But it basically had to do with me needing to guarantee the order of operations of when input was read and whatever. I don't know. What the hell is this crap? Deregister modifier? Delete threads on next. Oh yeah, that's true. I've also got like a whole multi-threading system I put together. But that's all stuff I'll have to deal with. Watching your compiling shaders slowly decrease. I mean, that's like watching, that's like watching paint dry. It's amazing, especially if the paint like changes colors as it dries. It gets one less than it was previously. I mean, that's pretty much what I do my entire life, is I'm just watching some sort of frickin' progress bar until I die. So, I mean, that's what it's like. Except it's like the Windows progress bar. It's like, when are you gonna die? You'll die in 2 seconds. You'll die in 3 minutes. You'll die in 999 years. Google's working on immortality. You'll die never. And then, I would finish copying the file. And you're like, shit. What was I doing again? Oh, that's right. It's always interesting with, like, you'd think progress bars would be something that people had actually figured out by now, like, in order to write them. And I know I made, like, launcher patchers and stuff like that. And, like, every goddamn launcher patcher, like, I've seen, usually the percent complete is total shit. Like, it has absolutely nothing to do with anything. This show FPS stat isn't fucking working at all. Or maybe it is. I cannot believe this. This world exec stat FPS is not working. Stat FPS is not related to UWorld, so it won't have any effect. That is why it's not working. You're in the wrong context. Oh, that is so dumb. That is so fucking stupid. Are you for real? I have to override this crap in like the player controller? That's pretty stupid if you ask me. I'm trying to call exec and it's not, it's the wrong context. The stack command is actually located in U-engine, so the best way to call is to use G-engine exec. This is like the command line system. Like we had so when I was working at Amazon on one of these games that had like a client and a server and all that sort of stuff, so C++ client, C++ server, they had a console, like a command line system for running stuff, which is incredibly vital for a game. Exec does not take one argument. Alright, then what's the other argument? Let's just use the player controller. But it was pretty funny because the biggest issue they had, like, not the biggest issue, but one of the most annoying goddamn things, because I was writing the server stuff, so I had to like manage these like game instances that you'd pop up on this game server. And usually you'd start these things up with command line arguments like, alright, cool, game server startup, you're going to be hosting, this deathmatch map, and, like, accept 16 players or whatever, here's some custom parameters. And the command line argument system for the client was completely different from the server. Like, as in, even to get something like, it was a completely different system. Like, they were just written differently, even though they were the same C++ like client and server in almost every other way. So it's just the funniest damn thing. Like, actually getting like a command line variable or something was just, I was just like, well, how do I do it? And they're like, well, you have to have like this poundif and this other thing. I'm like, it's a fucking command line. This is not a complex piece of technology. You know, like why is it so difficult to just get a frickin' command line to work? And they never fixed it. The game got canceled before they did, and they never had plans to fix it anyway. Alright, so we got that going on, so I should be able to detach and build that and make sure it works in a standalone shipping build as well. It's just funny how screwed up stuff is in game development. I swear to God. I don't know how many times I had to, like, just like there's some conversations you just wouldn't expect to have with professional developers who've been working, you know, for like 6 or more years. Like one of them, we had a conversation with this one guy, and it wasn't just one guy. It was like 2 or 3 guys that were in charge of some networking stuff, and they were saying, "Oh, well, TCP drops packets, so we implemented this system." And I'm just like, "Hold on a minute! Like, what was that you just said? Like, rewind." I'm like, "Oh yeah, well, TCP drops packets, so that's why we have this other system that sends this message." And I'm just like, "No, like, I'm gonna murder you." There's a stat unit. Oh, maybe I can. I haven't really looked at all that stuff. Oh, that's kind of handy. Do they both work at the same time? Yeah, they do. Alright. Well, we'll just throw that in there next time. But yeah, I mean, you wouldn't expect, you know, somebody working for so many years and actually having done some networking stuff to then like just not understand that things like just basic stuff. Like we're working at Amazon on one of the systems there, and it's amazing how many people don't know that like SourceServe and like SimServe exist. Which, if you don't know what they do, basically they're systems where if you have a crash in your game in like release mode or something, you can hook up your source control and your symbols that got built from that, and when you get the crash, that's like a mini dump that's like, you know, how many K or whatever, small thing. You can actually just hit the play button in Visual Studio, take it to the line, and give you like all the memory that it had at the time for a crash, and just like boom, it'll index into your source control, grab the file that it was built from, and grab everything from your symbol servers. And it's real easy to set up. And I think you'd be amazed how many studios I've seen where their idea of debugging a crash is like just having a log file, or, you know, like 10 people in a room scratching their ass just talking about what it could be, and then making another build and making QA run it back, instead of just like just yeah, it's crazy. Is FPS gonna do it, or do I need FPS equal true? Alright, so that's the FPS that we're getting with the 1024 texture. Let's see if the UI still works too. Probably not. Yeah, there we go. Couldn't find the file. want to see if that works just fine here. Looks like the CEF log is there too. Very cool. I think it's just I copied the UI folder over. See if that works. It's looking for binaries Win32. Alright. There we go. Oh yeah, and if you guys didn't know, I've got it set up so you can run WebKit stuff inside of this game. So I could go to google.com and I can be like, let's go to Twitch. And this is inside of the game. So oh no. No backend support. This is bullshit. I demand a manager. I can watch my own channel from inside of my game. No. Damn you. Oh, I have to like log in to type in there. This is so stupid. Why do I have to log in? Can't I just anonymously post things? This seems like a really bad idea. Anyway, I'll go ahead and move out of that. Alright, so let's up the dosage here. Let's set a 2048 texture up and then see what our FPS looks like. I want to see it drop. So we're seeing like 40 FPS there. Let's make sure it's the same. Twitch and Facebook, oh god, that was like one of the most hilarious days because I was there working it. It forced you to watch ads. Oh Jesus Christ! I know nothing of games that do that sort of thing at all. Because like when you mentioned Twitch and Facebook, but I remember when like Twitch had that like login with Facebook thing that they added. Like they added that just like on a whim. So like we were in our game studio like working on some stuff and we're logging in with Twitch, and like Amazon owns Twitch, right? So we were logging in with some Twitch stuff into our own games that we're developing and doing like playtests with. And they added that and then like it completely broke all of our stuff that like relied on their login flow. So like we couldn't even like log into our game. And it was really funny because like we had just bought Twitch or whatever, so we had no channels of communication to Twitch. So I was just like talking to my manager. I was like, so who's the lead engineer? Well, more of a tech lead manager. I was like, so do we like tweet at them like at Twitch? Hello, this is Amazon Game Studios. Hey, yeah, we own you, but like, can you like turn off the fucking log with the Facebook button, please? Thank you. Also, what's your email? Oh well, it was fun stuff there. Yeah, and if people were curious as to what the UI stuff there is, there's an experimental plugin using the Chromium embedded framework. And with a couple days of work, that thing could be pretty much production ready. You got to do some stuff like it doesn't stretch and scale and process mouse events properly and all that crap, but a little bit of elbow grease, you can get that working and not have to pay like $6,000 for Coherent to get a WebKit browser. All right. Alright, so even though it's a 2048 texture getting written, we're still 60 FPS, pretty solid. Let's up the doses to a 4096. And I'm just trying to be thorough here on some of these things. Oh man, speaking of evil ideas, I think the most evil thing was when EA did that whole Plants vs Zombies, and they put in like the A/B testing for if people would pay for lawnmowers. Like it was basically a Plants vs Zombies. If you're unfamiliar with the concept of this game, is a kind of a tower defense game with plants against the enemy, which is zombies. Hence the name Plants vs Zombies. What was it, PopCap or something that made it originally? Anyway, EA bought them. And one of the things is if the first zombie reaches the left side of the screen, a lawnmower comes across and kills all the zombies, which is horrifying when you actually think about it. A lawnmower going across your front lawn, massacring the undead, might be a little gruesome. But this is a casual game, so it's actually kind of cute, and you laugh when all the zombies die because it's just kind of humorous. But EA decided to be unhumorous, and they're like, we can get more money out of people. All right, so the 4096 texture is just it's writing pixels that are well beyond the magnitude of our acceptable limits. Alright, so the maximum texture size that we can dynamically write to every frame is looking around like 2048 for a total budget for all textures. So if we can limit our size, like right now these are 512 textures for the water. And, as you can probably see, that's actually just fine for this size thing. So 512 texture on this for some of our data actually is probably going to be more than okay. So we don't need this gigantic garbage pile. But yeah, so EA decided in their A/B testing that they were going to try out not returning those lawnmowers after you lost a level or went on to a next one, and you'd have to pay to get them back, right? And so this is like a pretty big change to the game. So the A/B test stuff, you don't know what A/B testing is. It's where you serve some customers the change and not all. So you'd have like maybe 10% of the people. They tried adding the mobile version of DLC. Yeah. So like 10% of your users are going to get this new thing where they have to pay for the fucking lawnmowers, and the other 90% aren't. So of course a Reddit post gets started immediately that goes to the top, which are people like, holy shit, like the lawnmowers cost like $5 now, and the rest of the community is like, what are you talking about, and showing screenshots of their phones and everything. And this actually got to like the front page of Reddit, and then other game devs weigh in. They're like, I know exactly what's happening. They're doing like A/B testing, and if this thing makes money, then you guys are screwed. They're gonna roll it out to everybody. So people are like, oh shit, we gotta like turn off the game and get our pitchforks out and not buy Call of Duty when it comes out, sort of shit. Like no day one DLC. What do we want? Free games. When do we want it? Yesterday, and that sort of stuff. But yeah, that was pretty evil. That mobile division, some sleazeballs. Some sleazeballs in that one. Anyway, I will be right back. So one of the things here is I was actually testing out if the where is it? The texture creator component. Yeah, we're only setting the first 128 bytes here. So what I want to do is, we'll see if there's a difference here. So we were able to go to like 4096. We get 20 FPS there. So let's build that without the without this stuff. So we're rendering the whole thing, and we're just testing if this actually works for rendering source regions. Because if it does work, then we can get some optimizations out of it. We need to worry about it. Otherwise, we don't. So we're at 20 FPS, and now we're at 15 FPS. Okay, so there definitely is some savings. It's probably not super amazing, but there are savings for only writing to specific regions. So that's true. That is something we might be able to get away with. Alright, I'll have to write that down.